Right, so today on Omni Garage we've got a couple of Ryobi sprayers. So Ryobi make 3 sprayers that are available here in New Zealand and Australia. We've got 2 of them in front of us. So we've got the 3.5 litre handheld, we've got the 7.5 litre handheld, and the third variation they make as well is actually a backpack sprayer, which is 15 litres in capacity. So in terms of price between these, it's actually not too different. So the smaller machine here is $119 New Zealand. The bigger one is $129. So there's only a $10 variance to get the tank that's 7.5 litres versus your 3.5 with a smaller one. Now both of them obviously operate on the 18 volt battery system. So we've got a 2.5 amp hour battery plugged into both of these. Now one of the cool features I think about both of these sprayers is if you come in a bit closer, they both have integrated measuring caps. So you'll see on the top here, this is basically the lid. You can screw it off and you've got your measurements on there. So you go all the way up to 120 millilitres. Now this is really handy to have this with you all the time, although in our experience with these, I've had this 3.5 litre sprayer. This is actually my second one I've had, but I've owned one of these for probably about the last 4 or 5 years, and I have had, the reason I'm onto the second sprayer is this wasn't properly rinsed out, and some of the chemicals I was using, which was most likely a weed spray I think at the time, actually ate through the bottom. So this was sitting in my shed on the bottom of the, on the top of the sprayer, and that just fell completely through. So Ryobi have a fantastic return policy as well. Simply took this back in and they swapped it out for a brand new one rather than just swapping out the single part there. Now flow rates on these, they are a little bit different. So you'd think that these two machines, pretty much looking exactly the same, just the different size of the tank, you'd think they'd be pretty similar. However, the flow rate changes a bit. So this machine here, the smaller one, pushes out about half a litre a minute, versus the bigger one puts out 0.38 of a litre. So it's about 120 millilitres less per minute that this machine's putting out. So if you really do want a quicker flow rate, you're probably wanting to go with a smaller one, although you've only got a 3.5 litre tank on here, so you do blow through it quite quickly. Pressure wise as well, you've got more pressure from the smaller one. Scientifically, I don't know exactly why, but I would assume that both of these machines have the exact same motor in them. They are a brushed motor, so I would say that the pressurization in here is greater. So I think this one puts out 45 psi of pressure versus this one here at 32. So if you're looking at the two machines and comparing them, if you want something with a really strong flow rate and you also want a higher pressure, you're wanting to go with a smaller one. Although the benefit of this big one here, with a 7.5 litre tank, you're having to do far less refills, especially if you're working around a big section. So what we'll do, we'll fill both of these up with a bit of water, and I'll show you what the spray pattern's like, because we do have some adjustment on the end of the lance, and we'll show you what that flow rate looks like with the two different machines. One of the things that you want to be aware of too with these two different sprayers is the 3.5 litre is really comfortable to walk around with when it's completely full. Both of these do come with a shoulder strap that you can attach to them. With the 3.5 litre, I don't think there's any need to have that on, because even at full capacity, it's not very heavy at all. Versus the 7.5 litre, I think that if you were going to be continuously filling this right to the top, you'd want to have the attachment on there just to make it a bit more comfortable. So while these are relatively cheap tools, I actually do find the quality of the lance really nice. You've got a metal lance here. I find the spray nozzles also nice quality. It's not a plastic one, so it is quite durable. It's quite dirty there as well. But what's also quite nice is just the quality of the fittings at the top here. Obviously you do get into plastics when you get to your handle. However, what's cool about this is under the handle here, this just clicks in. So storage of this is really nice and tidy. Now Ryobi called this cruise control, but you can actually lock this trigger. So when you're spraying, obviously you've got the variable spray trigger. Okay, and you can click it forward, which locks it in place. Now I find this really handy if I'm spraying continuously, so not doing any type of spot treatment. If I'm needing to spray the lawn uniformed, or I'm tackling something like a lot of weeds, I'll lock that on to what they're calling cruise control, and you just slide it back off to take it off. So I find that that is super easy one-hand operation, really nice feature. So what we'll do, we'll fire them up, and to do that, you've just got your power button just directly under the handle here. Let them build pressure, And quite occasionally they do make a bit of a racket while they're building pressure. But what we'll do, we'll pick up the smaller one, and I'll show you what the spray looks like on this one. So this is torqued all the way down. And you'll see I'm moving at a fairly reasonable pace, and it's really consistent, the pattern that you get from that. What we can do as well is we can change the torque on here, loosen it up a bit, and then we can get a stream. And you've got quite a bit of control there where you can play with this to spread all the way up to something about that wide. So depending on what you're using this for, if you're really wanting to spot treat weeds, you might want to do it a bit more like that, torque it down a bit more. So you've got a lot of adjustment there to actually play with it, which I really do like. These do come off completely as well, so you can take that off and give that a clean. So if you get any blockages in there, the cap comes right the way out, and you'll be able to clean inside there. And that's obviously what it's putting out without the cap on there. We'll move back to the other machine and we'll show you what it looks like on the other one. So very, very similar with us. I mean, the flow rate is 0.5 litres per minute on the other one versus 0.38 on this one here. So, I mean, it's about 4/5 the output, but really you don't notice too much of a difference. We'll grab the other one and we'll play with the two side by side. So we've got the 3.5 litre here, the 7.5 here. So the other thing that I really like about these sprayers is the fact that they come apart really nicely. So basically to empty this out, you've got a couple of options. You can either unscrew the cap and you could just tip it upside down and you could lose water or whatever product you've got there out the top. But what you can do is on the sides here, you've got some clips. So you just flick it up both sides, take these off, and then what will happen is you just pull the whole thing out. So obviously you've got the smaller hole here where your tube's going into. You've got the cutout for this bit here, and then what this means is you can unscrew and you can simply take your little tank away. You can empty it out, but what I find as well, when I've been using a chemical in here, what I'll do is take this out, pop the hose through the smaller hole, hold it like this, and it's a really easy way to clean everything out without getting any water near our motor, near our battery. You can keep this nice and clean while you're emptying this out. Nice little feature. Same goes for the bigger machine as well. Flick the clips, take this off, and you can take this off and you can empty it this way. Now, one of the things that I would do is, I would put my hose down here and I would empty this out, but what I would then do is probably add a bit more clean water, rehook the machine back up, and I like to spray for about another 30 seconds to a minute just to make sure that all of the chemicals are out of the tubing and also out of the spray lance. I find that that means that next time I go to pick up the machine, I don't have any chemicals left over that are either corroding or eating away at something. And it also means if I've used something like weed spray and then I go to apply something else, I'm not going to be going and killing anything that I didn't want to by mixing my two chemicals. So make sure you do that every time you use the machine, because if you can't screw that on tight, you're going to have a useless sprayer that won't be able to build any pressure. So there you have it. That's the Omni Garage recommendation, the 7.5 litre Ryobi sprayer, 129 New Zealand dollars. I think it's an absolutely fantastic deal. If you're interested in checking out any of the other Ryobi tools that we've got about 20 or 30 of them. We're slowly working our way through the whole lot, making little videos very similar to this, showing you guys the ins and outs of the things that you need to know about them. So check out that playlist. It's up in the corner right now. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.